Peace and blessings, love and light, health and wholeness. Peace and blessings, love and light, health and wholeness. Peace and blessings, love and light, health and wholeness, the one and the all. Um, y'all see it's a little cloudy out here today, um, but I'm gonna try to get through this. I've been in rest and rejuvenation. I've been in the cave. I had to go to the mountains. You know, like I always say, you gotta know when to withdraw and power up, so you be in the best relationship with yourself, so you can be in the highest relationship possible with others. You always want to give others the highest version of yourself in all your interactions. So today we're gonna talk about relationships. I wrote some things down as always. Life is a relationship. Being in a relationship means choosing to be on your partner's team, and sometimes that means putting their needs before your own. Well, family was our first example of that, prior to building our own interpersonal relationships. When you're committed to a relationship, you consider the big and small decisions, not just for you, but for all parties involved. In a relationship, you work together and make room in your life for each other. That's, that's for a better term, that's family to me. But family come far and few. You must be in good relationship with yourself in order to be in good relationship to anyone. And we know that ain't common because we come from all different aspects of life, different cultures, different living environments and circumstances. Yet there is no excuse. Why do I say that? Because anytime I observe a child, I always notice one thing. They can be happy for no reason at all, whether they're playing by themselves or they're playing in the company of other children. And once we become adults, we forget that part of our nature about ourselves. So today, my relationships today reflect quality over appearance. Y'all marinate in that. Allow your relationships today to reflect quality over appearance. We're gonna go to the synonym finder as usual. And relationships wasn't in here when I looked it up, but relation was. So that's the key, relation. How is our ship floating in all our relations? Therefore, we have relationship. Relation, connection, tie, link, bond, union, liaison, association, relationship, connectedness, relatedness, affiliation, alliance, accord, rapport, affinity, sympathy, dependency, interconnection, interdependentness, concatenation, contingency, relativity, similarity, similitude, closeness, nearness, propinquity, approximation, and proximation. We're going to the seat of the soul, y'all. It's about to get interesting. From relationships. There are certain growing dynamics that can occur only within the dynamic of commitment. Without commitment, you cannot learn to care for another person more than yourself. You cannot learn to value the growth of strength and clarity in another soul, even if that threatens the wants of your personality. When you release the wants of your personality in order to accommodate and encourage another's growth, you attune yourself to that person's soul. Without commitment, you cannot learn to see others as your soul sees them, as beautiful and powerful spirits of light. The archetype of spiritual partnership between equals for the purpose of spiritual growth, 200s, you know, 200s coming together as 100 to make a whole, is emerging within our species. This is different from the archetype of marriage, which was designed to assist physical survival, in which partners do not necessarily see themselves as equals. When individuals enter into a marriage, the ability of each to survive physically and to physically is enhanced. They are more capable together of finding fire, shelter, food, and water, and of defending themselves than they are individually. The marriage archetype reflects the perception of power as external. The archetype of spiritual partnership reflects the conscious journey of Christ-conscious humans or collective conscious humans towards authentic power. Spiritual partners recognize the existence of the soul and consciously seek to further its expansion. They recognize non-physical dynamics at work within the world of time and matter. They see matter as the densest or heaviest, or in my own view, the grossest level of light that is continually being shaped. They see matter as the densest or heaviest level of light that is continually being shaped and reshaped by the souls that are in this sphere of learning, the earth sphere. They consciously co-create their experiences with each other within a live earth that loves life every much and with a compassionate universe. Communities, nations, and cultures, all of our collective creations, are built upon the values and perceptions of five sensory of flesh human personality. The values that are reflected by the archetype of marriage. They are designed to serve the physical survival of our species. They also reflect the decisions of our species to learn through fear and doubt. Our entire world is built upon the energy of flesh sense personality that has chosen to learn through fear and doubt. Nations fear nations, races and races, and sexes fear each other. The exploration of physical reality, which is external power, could have been accomplished in a spirit of cooperation with and appreciation of the earth. Instead, we choose as a species to explore it with a sense of domination and exploitation, the tyrant. This is the path of learning through fear and doubt, fear of the physical environment and doubt that we fit naturally into it. Our world reflects the basic thought form that there is no afterlife, that in this lifetime the only thing that ensures power is what can be had and what can we gain. Sometimes we speak of an afterlife, but we do not really believe that after we leave the earth, we are still responsible for the choices that we have made while here on it. Our species is no longer humble, no longer honorable. It has no reverence. It is arrogant and filled with its own technology. It seduces itself constantly in terms of its illusion that is in control to seduce the people. And so it creates chaos and still refuses to see that it is impossible for it to control. We take from the earth and from each other. We destroy forests and oceans and atmosphere. We enslave each other and torture and beat and humiliate and murder each other. When the archetype of spiritual partnership of individuals joined in equality for the purpose of spiritual growth emerges at the level of community, it creates values and perceptions at the level that reflect those of the Christ-conscious or collective conscious personality. Just as individuals that bond in spiritual partnership and choose to express their bond through the convention of marriage, infuse the energy of spiritual partnership into the archetype of marriage, and thereby create new values and behaviors within marriage, individuals that join in spiritual partnership at the level of organization, city, nation, race, and sex, infuse the collective consciousness of these levels with the energy of spiritual partnership and create new values and behaviors and dimensions and paradigms at these levels. Be the template of something. How can you use your relationship with others to be the template of something they never saw before? To be a higher archetype of something that they're not used to. The evolutionary process that occurs at the level of the individual is the same process that occurs at each level of interaction between individuals. When the individual invokes the energy of the archetype of spiritual partnership, not only the partnership that it forms with another individual is affected, but also its community, nation, and the global village. So when I say God is not my name, God is my nature, another reason being because you have to have the ability to see God in everything. It ain't, when I say I'm God, because I am, but I'm speaking of my nature, I ain't the only one that's God. We all gods. But we all must know that and affirm that and discipline ourselves in the nature of what God is. If you wish the world to become loving and compassionate, become loving and compassionate. You get what you put out. If you wish to diminish fear in the world, diminish your own. These are the gifts that you can give. The fear that exists between nations is a macrocosm of the fear that exists between individuals and you. The perception of power as external that separates nations is the same that exists between individuals. And the love, clarity, and compassion that emerge within the individual that chooses consciously to align itself with its soul is the same that will bring sexes, races, nations, and neighbors into harmony with each other. It's a simple science. You got to see it to be it, but you got to be it, believe it to see it. See, I don't try to be love. I just be love. I don't try to give joy. I just be joy. I don't try to be happy. I just be happy. There's no other way. So each human being is responsible for the quality of life that he or she personally experiences simultaneously that extends into the macrocosm. The threat of nuclear annihilation, for example, is a macrocosmic idea or notion on our Earth, and it requires the complete evolution of the microcosm in order for that to evaporate. So long as those who strive to establish harmony at the level of nations have within themselves the anger and violence that they seek to heal between nations, the harmony that they seek to create at the microcosmic level cannot come into being because you can't heal anger with anger. You can't heal hate with hate. It only fuels it. What is in one what is in one is in the whole. And therefore, ultimately, each soul is responsible for the whole world. And in me figuring it out, I did all the work necessary on myself that needed to be done. So, the healing that I accomplished in myself, I can see it in the world, regardless of what's going on in the world. You see, the miracle that I performed on myself, I see it in the world, regardless of what's going on in the world, because I don't see the suffering. I just see the miracle that I did on myself. I don't see the chaos. I just see the peace that I established in myself. Y'all catch that? When you commit to a spiritual partnership with another human being, you bring the energy of the archetype of spiritual partnership into the physical arena. You begin to form and to live by the values, perceptions, and actions that reflect equality with your partner and a commitment to his or her spiritual development as well as your own. You begin to set aside the wants of your personality in order to accommodate the needs of your partner's spiritual growth. And in doing that, you grow yourself. That is how spiritual partnership works. You begin to see that what is necessary to the health of your partnership is identical with what is necessary to your own spiritual growth. That each of you holds the pieces that the other is missing. If you are jealous, for example, you will find that jealousy is what brings to the surface in your partner an aspect that needs to be healed, and that the aspect is mirrored in yourself. You begin to value your partner's contribution to your development. You experience that his or her perceptions and observations are helpful and indeed central to your growth. That conversation between you stir deep waters. You learn the roles of love and commitment and trust in making your partnership work. You learn that love alone is not enough. That without trust, you are not able to give or to receive the love that both of you have for each other. You learn that your commitment must be translated into a form that satisfies the needs of both of you. You learn to value the needs of your partner as much as you value your own, because the partnership that you both want requires two healthy and inwardly secure individuals, two whole beings. You learn to trust not only each other, but also your ability to grow together and your ability to trust yourself. You learn that you put your partnership most at risk by avoiding that which you are most afraid will destroy you. It is not easy to express what is inside you, especially that which makes you feel vulnerable or painful or angry or upset. These are the emotions that empower words that can do either damage or can do so much healing. You learn that sharing your concerns with consideration and the intention to heal and trust in the process is the only appropriate avenue. Trust in the process. As you approach your needs with courage instead of fear, you ignite a sense of trust. The true human condition in its most perfect form has no secrets. It does not hide but exists in clear love. You gotta allow your life to become an open book, man, and your strengths and your weaknesses. You learn not to do stupid and careless things to each other. You learn that wanting what you want is not enough, but that you both must want it deeply and create it every day. That you must bring it into being and hold it in being with your intentions. You gotta tote this shit. You just can't quote it. As the consciousness of each of you becomes lighter, your partnership becomes richer, fuller, expanded. You learn the value of considering the other's position by becoming the other person, by truly walking into the fears of the other and then returning into your own being. Again, you open up the conversations to transcend the personal and become healing at the impersonal. Shapeshift. This allows you to see each other as spiritual playmates as you work through the areas that require healing in each of you. We all play a part in this mess that we made, so it's on all of us to fix it. It started with oneself. Even in the toughest moments of your work on feelings of insecurity, you can be light and remind yourself that you are spirits who have taken on this physical experience and have far greater power in you and showing that moment of weakness. The things that are the individuals to learn in spiritual union with another individual are the groups, the communities, and the nations to learn in spiritual union with other groups, communities, and nations. The choice in each instant is between learning through fear and doubt or through wisdom, between the lower frequency energy currents of the personality or the higher frequency and energy current of the soul, collective, and Christ self. If the anger of one personality toward another creates distance, shatters intimacy, and causes defensiveness, the anger of one nation or religion or sex toward another produces the same. We are all mirrors. If the concern of one personality for another produces closeness, appreciation, and mutual regard, the concern of one nation or religion or community for another produces the same. The dynamic is identical. What's being mirrored in the U.S. is being mirrored worldwide. Understand that concept. You are related to every form of life upon this planet and beyond. As your soul evolves, you move into greater awareness of the nature of that relationship and the responsibilities that you must assume. Within our species, there are degrees of soul consciousness. The significance of the evolution of responsibility is that each human being moves through levels of responsibility on its way to wholeness. We hear all the time, it's levels to this shit, but who know the levels? Who can demonstrate the levels to this and show other people how to walk up it? In other words, as a soul chooses the lesson of responsibility, it will find itself incarnating into another atmosphere of more potential impact upon the species. The personality must also come to agree with what the soul has chosen. If you are not consciously ready, you will not be put into a position to impact many for the protection of your own soul. If you are not consciously ready, you will not be put into position to impact many for the protection of your own soul. What you gonna do for others if you're weak? A soul that is new to the human experience, for example, a soul that has evolved from the animal kingdom and is beginning its journey of human evolution. Just beginning to shed monkey, although there are very few of them at this point, begins within a certain frequency range, and for its own protection incarnates into a limited sphere of human life. It may incarnate into a remote region so that it can have a gentle life familiarizing itself with the human physical experience. As it becomes more adept at the human sensory system, at human intelligence, at the connection between the soul and body energy, and what is expected within a human incarnation, its capacity to move and incarnate into more responsible centers of activity increases. Center of activity does not mean the presence of a city or a university, but an activity of karmic proportion. In other words, a person that is living in a remote area in which the temptations of life and the definitions of good and evil are far more clear, and in which there are not as many temptations, is not in the same karmic center as a soul that has chosen to incarnate as one who would have a larger sphere of influence within a family or a community or a nation. A soul center of activity refers to the degree of expansion of its karmic influence and energy influence. A soul needs to be more advanced to handle the possibilities that come from the expansion of its karmic energy influences. This is the significance of the evolution of responsibility. As souls choose to participate consciously in more inclusive levels of interaction, they take on not only their own transformation, but also those of the large collectives in which they participate. Think of your consciousness in terms of physical light. The light shines, but a brighter light shines over a wider range, and a dimmer light shines on a smaller range. The extent to which your light shines is the width and depth and breadth of your karmic influence. If you are a major light, you shine upon the entire globe. You heard? If you are growing into a major light but are a lesser light, you shine within a different range of which you are held karmically responsible. You heard? But your potential to shift your own quality of consciousness and the quality of consciousness of others is equally enormous. It's equally of value. Within the sphere of possibilities and probabilities for the soul, there exist many opportunities, including the possibility that the soul might choose, for example, its most remote path of growth instead of the one that is most natural to its energy, so to speak. If in the privacy of his own spiritual choices, he or she advances in faith and in courage and in feeling for his or her own humanity, a soul may well open the door which leads to greater awareness, to greater karmic influence and responsibility. Whereas the possibility might have existed with only a small probability at the time of the soul's incarnation, a door that would open only under certain circumstances. If this happened, and then if that happened, it may become so that the soul does indeed find its way to the path. Every micro-consciousness or individual soul affects the macro-consciousness depending upon its quality of light. How does your light shine? How does your light vibrate? Upon the frequency of its consciousness. A soul that agrees to incarnate into a lifetime in which it has significant potential to affect the lives of many is a great soul. The quality of power of such a soul is great. It is global. Its capacity to touch the lives of millions and indeed billions of human beings is very real. Soul control. And so will be its karmic debt if it fails in its task to advance humanity. Soul control. It will have the karmic responsibility of billions of souls upon its own. What you came here to do. Do you know? Great souls upon our planet, like all souls upon our planet, must make decisions moment by moment. As you look upon the many souls of our earth who stand in major positions to maneuver the lives of thousands or millions or billions of human beings, allow yourself to distinguish them from their personalities. We are all one. Even though a soul that has the ability to influence the lives of billions of people, or even the entire of humanity, its personality is tempted. When the personality, Jesus, encountered the Luciferic principle, the challenging principle of our species, when he was offered dominion over the entire globe, the fulfillment of all that he could conceive, was he tempted? Yes, he was tempted. He would not. If he were not, there would have been no power in his choice. Was the choice of the path of glory that he chose not balanced against another of equal attraction? How could he have drawn such power from that choice? Authentic empowerment is not gained by making choices that do not stretch you, that do not bend you. When a soul chooses the vertical path, when it chooses to evolve consciously through responsible choice, it becomes capable of liberating itself from its own negativities. It reaches for authentic power. It takes on, so to speak, its own negativity, its own cross, the unconscious intentions of the splinter parts of itself. As a personality becomes conscious, as it evolves into a Christ-conscious personality and becomes integrated, the frequency of its consciousness increases. It's God-conscious. It becomes whole. Its negativities drop away and the quality of its consciousness becomes lighter. Light body. It becomes able to see itself and those around it with compassion and clarity, with the wisdom of its soul. When a soul chooses to participate consciously in more inclusive levels of interaction, it becomes capable of participating directly in the liberation of its family, group, community, nation, from the negativities that are present and active at those levels. It also runs the risk of contamination by those negativities. Keep yourself covered. Great souls such as the soul that was Gandhi, for example, run the risk of great contamination. At the level of soul contact, a great soul deals not only with its own fear, its personal fear, but it also takes on the evolution of the fear of others. The weight of that which is where a great soul risks contamination on a great level, but possibility of releasing the fear by joining to it, but not being attached to it, is possible. The consciousness of a great soul is symbolic of the larger consciousness. The great soul is the person who has taken on the task of change. If he or she is able to transcend fear, to act out of courage, the whole of his group will benefit, and each one in his or her own life, in his or her own time, will be subtly more courageous, though they may not see how or why. Not all souls accomplish the task that they have set for themselves. As you look at the individuals who are in major positions of influence upon our planet, you can see whether or not they are succeeding in their task of advancing humanity by the choices that they have made. Some have chosen to align themselves like mannequins with the dying consciousness of the flesh human being that has existed within the collective consciousness of each of our nations. They have chosen, in other words, to represent a system that is disintegrating. These souls represent a form of power that is no longer effective. They chose to walk the shifting pattern of fear and selfishness. They exhibit great paranoid energy, and therefore they attract to themselves their governments and their military fellow human beings that have done the same thing. You know, they got everybody in peril for talking about, mask up. And we need to breathe. That's why I'm out here, because we need fresh air. Every soul that agrees consciously to bring to a level of human interaction the love and compassion and wisdom that it has acquired and is trying through his or her own energy to change the fear patterns of the collective is a great soul. They are the archetypal patterns that was put into place within this system. Just like Jesus, to be a great teacher. He symbolized as he moved through his lifetime in the way that he did. He released the negative karmic patterns of the collective unconscious that has accumulated to his time. In each great soul, it is the same pattern, the pattern of taking on the whole through the power of your own consciousness and transforming. When a soul reaches for authentic power and chooses consciously to bring that power into levels of interaction that it shares with other souls, it enters this dynamic. Your evolution toward authentic power, therefore, affects not only you. As the frequency of your consciousness increases and the quality of your consciousness reflects the clarity, as the quality of your consciousness reflects the humbleness and forgiveness and love of authentic power, it touches more and more around you. As your strategies become greater, so does your ability to make your responsible choices. As you shine brighter, as your light and power increase with each responsible choice, so does your world. May your greatest ability be your availability. And with that, have a blessed day, man. I hope y'all feeling good. I hope y'all looking good. And I hope y'all being good. Peace and love, wholeness and health, love and light. This is Sabu the God.